late.
I love you.
Something about me that I don't talk about very often is my love for rotting in bed and watching a good TV show or a good movie. And so in today's video, I thought it would be fun to go through every single thing I've watched this past year. I really want to start being more vigilant with tracking every single thing that I'm watching because it is something that I enjoy and I do have a lot of thoughts. And so before we get straight into our tracking for the year of our Lord 2024, let's reminisce on the last year. I'm gonna start with TV shows because they're the thing that I watch the most often. I find a lot of comfort in getting lost in characters and storylines, but having the characters continuously kind of show up for you. First, and probably most importantly, I finished Criminal Minds this year. Criminal Minds, if you don't know what it is about this kind of task force in the FBI focusing on tracking killers and different sorts of criminals through profiling. Profiling is just kind of thinking about the psychology and the motives of these criminals and why they're doing the things that they're doing. The main thing for me about this series is the found family, the different characters, how unique each and every single one of them, how they bond, how they grow individually and together as a family through everything that happens. And of course, you have their little adventures, their thrilling, creepy, cool adventures. Very big thing for me to finish this year. Criminal Minds is literally one of my 5 personality traits. I don't have many, but Criminal Minds is right in there. School Spirits is actually something that I binged a few weeks ago. It is a series about this girl who dies in high school. She's been murdered and she finds herself stuck in the high school as a ghost, and she meets all of these other ghosts that have also passed away in the school. They all kind of know what happened to them except for her, and so as she's trying to accept the fact that she has died, she has never left her high school, she's also trying to figure out why she's dead in the first place. Just remember thinking that the shots were really cool, the cinematography, not that I know that much about that. Very fun to binge, nothing exceptional, but fun to go along with. I did also think the acting was a little bit cringy, but you can get over it. Only Murders in the Building, what a comfort show. These 3 people, they live in this kind of luxurious apartment in New York City. They're all 3 kind of obsessed with these true crime podcasts when out of nowhere, seemingly, I don't know, a murder happens in their building. It kind of brings them together and they decide to try and figure out what happened, to make their own podcast kind of tracking their entire investigative journey. I love this show so much. It is so comforting. It's funny, but just the right amount, just the right way. The characters, the way they bond, the way they kind of grow together, their little silly moments, adorable, lovely, lovely, lovely show. It's not one of those shows that you follow for a crazy plot twist ending. It's more so a fun journey to go along. And the ending is kind of fun as well, but it's like not why you're there, if that makes sense. Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story. Absolutely love Bridgerton. I feel like it's everything and more, and I was very excited to kind of dive into the story of a character that's present and important in the regular Bridgerton series, but that you don't know that much about. It was very bittersweet to kind of follow Queen Charlotte's story, knowing sort of how it ends for her. Wow, I'm literally already on the verge of tears. Very romantic, very dramatic, very entertaining. Absolutely love this series. I think it's like 8 episodes. You can binge it. Do yourself a favor and just heal your little romantic heart. The Blacklist, another very formative series for me. It's about this secret task force in the FBI kind of partnering up with one of the most wanted criminals ever to catch criminals that you would have never even thought to look for. The show ended in 2023. I am still grieving. It is so genius from the very first episode. You know, sometimes you're like recommending a series to someone and you're like push through the first 3 episodes at least before making up your mind. No. The Blacklist, from the first like 5 minutes, you're like, this is good. You can just tell that the showrunners, the writers, whoever was involved in that show thought so much about the characters and the plot lines. And so different criminals that you see are just so cool. You're like, how did they even think about this? The plot lines that intertwine between many different seasons are just insane. And you have this team of wonderful, wonderful people that just bond and grow together. And it's just everything that I personally enjoy in a show. I'm obsessed. It's my favorite show ever. The actors, so good. Outer Banks. This was a rough period in 2023. It wasn't bad. Some of the main characters are very freaking annoying to me, but I so understand the hype with this show. Very, very fun setting, very fun vibes. I didn't even say what Outer Banks was about. Okay, it's set on this island where the rich and the poor are kind of divided. There's this rivalry between the two. Things get mingled up, of course, in this show. Love stories, love interest, and it's kind of this treasure hunt. Very, very high stakes and entertaining. Wednesday also binged during that same period of time. It's about this girl who kind of just lives in this kind of dark but magical world. Everyone has their powers, but like everyone is like a different thing. I don't know really how to explain this, but she goes to a school where there's other teens like her, and she ends up trying to figure out a murder, I think. It's like teen goes to school, discovers the world, and tries also to find who did what. So very fun, very cool. I think it's for an audience maybe a little bit younger than me, but I enjoyed nonetheless. A really good one to binge. Never Have I Ever. This show also ended in 2023. Say what you want to say about this show, but for me, having a main character of color just being a messy teen was all that I ever wanted. And if you don't know what this show is about, it's about a messy teen in high school. Just kind of living, laughing, and loving. She lost her dad very tragically a few years back. She can't walk anymore for a little while because she is so emotionally struck there. She's just trying to experience certain things for the first time in regards to love and sex, and she's also navigating friendships in school and figuring out who she is, what she wants, her relationship with her mother that's now different without her dad in the mix. Very cool, funny show. I was very satisfied with the ending of it all. Now for the TV shows that I have not finished. Suits. I actually ended up loving Suits. Suits is about like these lawyers with very high-class clients. They're high-class themselves, and things are just high stakes for that reason because everyone's rich in the show. Kind of. Go girl, give us nothing. It was different for me to have like these two men just kind of leading the show for the most part and being besties, and I found myself so attached to them as a duo. One of them is kind of grumpy, the other one is just kind of finding his footing in life. Basically, like the main plot line that you actually begin with is that this guy gets recruited in this important law firm because he has an incredible memory and he is very smart, but he does not have the bar, like whatever, he's not an actual lawyer, but things happen and he gets in there and you kind of just have this secret looming around throughout the show. Just very funny, very entertaining, very dramatic, everything I want and love. I think what happened for me with this show is that I saw a spoiler. I really want in the next year to restart the show and just finish it because I know that there's probably other things that I'm gonna enjoy witnessing, but I was really bummed by that. Scandal? There was a bit of a renaissance for that show, at least on TikTok. On my side of TikTok, I saw it everywhere, and the fact that we have this Black female lead just slaying all around the show is absolutely lovely to me. This was like in the early 2010s too, so even more iconic. She is this crisis manager. I think that's what it is. She has her team, and she kind of just helps these high-profile people deal with their crisis. She used to work for the president of the United States, who is married, by the way. There's a bit of a romance there, and that really bothered me. I get it if you like this show, but for me, I was like, girly, please stand the fuck up and leave this man alone. And same thing for the poor wife of the president. She was absolutely iconic. She carried the freaking show. She deserved better. And I was like, I actually cannot watch this. This is painful. So that's kind of what happened with Scandal, but I get it. I get it. Jury Duty. This feels like it didn't even happen in 2023, but there was a moment where everyone was talking about this show. It's like this reality TV, but also not. It's about these people that get called into jury duty, and everyone is an actor except for this one guy. Like everyone in jury duty, but everyone that's also a part of like the courtroom, like the judge, the security guards, like everyone is an actor except for this one guy. How crazy, how crazy, what a crazy concept. Whoever thought about that, you're really freaking smart. I watched like 6 episodes out of 8. I think I was sick when I watched it, and then I didn't get the chance to finish it, but really funny, really crazy, and I definitely want to get back to it eventually. The Resident, This was kind of a series that I watched just to watch because there was a lot of seasons. It's about this guy, I don't know if when the show starts he is the resident or he is helping a resident. It's them slaying around the hospital, what's happening in their personal lives, what's happening on the day-to-day in the hospital, problems, social and otherwise kind of happening in the workplace. I think the show is trying to also criticize and comment on certain things that are happening in real life. It really wasn't a bad show. It just didn't get me the way some of these other shows get me. I watched 5 seasons out of 6. The show has been cancelled. I will probably never get back to it. Rain is a historical period drama, kind of. It's not historically accurate. It's about Francis something and Mary. The acting was so cringy. They were saying something, I was like, I don't believe you. You know what I mean? Like, you never want to watch someone and think to yourself, like, this is someone acting sad. You want to think to yourself, this character is sad. You know what I mean? So that was not for me. The Walking Dead, I never thought I would watch that show. It's like practically a cultural piece at this point. It's about like a zombie apocalypse and just this group of people trying to survive. And I never thought I would be into that sort of stuff, but I actually had a zombie class last winter in university. And first of all, it changed my entire life. It changed my entire life. But in one of our classes, we actually watched the first episode and I was like, oh, this is kind of good. I stopped watching it because I started having nightmares about the zombies, and I never have nightmares about like scary fake things, if that makes sense. So that kind of alarmed me, and so I stopped for my own well-being. But really cool show. Definitely give it a try. Very gory, but I'm so glad I like give it a shot. Outlander. I needed a new show. I don't know how I got there. I think I was looking for like shows like Bridgerton, and then this one popped up. It's about this woman. She's a medic and married in like the 1950s, 40s, I want to say. And something happens. She gets projected back in like the 1600s. She knows all of this stuff about how history is going to go down, but she is now many, many years before all of these things happen. And so to survive, she ends up having to... Is that a spoiler? Wait, maybe I'm not going to tell you that, but a lot happens. A lot happens. The episodes were just so long and I just never got invested enough, sorry. Which actually reminds me, Game of Thrones, it's not on my list, but I had initially started that show in like 10th grade, which I don't even know how I did that. Like, I was too young. This show is too gory and too sexual for a child. I know people don't listen when you're like 18 and plus, but like at least be 16. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I knew I was gonna want to have like a fall TV show. And so I began the show all over again. I think I got to season 2 or 3. I stopped because I actually did not have the time to watch a TV show this fall. Like, I did not have time for a series that long. The episodes are like almost an hour long. I want to tell you what it's about. I don't know. I don't know. It's like these big fantasy books that like 30-year-old nerds read come to life. And I ate it up. I did. I just don't have the time to get invested in a series that long with episodes that long. Now, finally, for the movies that I've watched this year, we're gonna go through them rapid fire. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Surprisingly, I had never watched that movie before. Literally one of my favorite movies of all time. I've watched it like maybe 5 or 6 times since I initially watched it at the beginning of the year. The girl works at a magazine. The guy works in like sports advertisement. They both for work kind of get challenged to start dating someone. The guy needs to make the girl fall in love, and the girl needs to find a guy and try to drive him away by doing crazy things. All of that stuff needs to happen in the span of 10 days. Literally the best rom-com I have ever watched in my entire life. Instant Family. This is a rewatch. It's one of my favorite movies ever. It's about this couple. They're like in their early 40s, late 30s or something. And they're like, oh, we've spent so much time and so much effort kind of building our life and making sure we were secure that like life kind of went on and we never even discussed really having kids. And they're like, are we too old to even start trying now? And so they decide to start fostering these kids. It's just very funny, very touching, very bittersweet, and like very insightful and informative about things that I think most people don't really think about ever. Catching Fire, the second Hunger Games. It's like my favorite Hunger Games. I watch it multiple times a year. Yeah. Actually, speaking of the Hunger Games, I watched Ballad of the Songbird and the Snake, or whatever it's called. The newest one, the one that caused the renaissance of the Hunger Games. I've been eating that up. Like, I'm so excited. I used to watch on YouTube like edits of this and that and this and that, and I could never find anything. But this has created a bank of data for me to work with. It was a really long movie, and initially I actually did not want to watch it because I was like, I'm not interested in feeling any sort of sympathy towards Snow. Like, we know who he is, we know how he ends up. What's the point? But I should have given more credit to my girl Susan Collins, because why would she let me down? The movie, I don't think, is interested in making you pity Snow or making you love Snow. It's truly just a villain origin story, and it also just gives you more context into how the Hunger Games developed into being what you see when you first meet Katniss. So very cool, very long movie. It didn't feel necessarily like a Hunger Games movie, but like I liked it. And Tom Blythe, camera died, intermission, I'm back. I watched a cultural reset. That was the Barbie movie. It was fun, it was campy, it sparked thinking and discussion, and I think anything that can do that is cool in a way. Maybe not anything, but it was very cool, the Barbie movie, to be able to do that. Athlete A is a documentary about the toxic culture and kind of what made the big scandal that happened a few years back come to life. Very impactful, meaningful, important watch in my opinion, but definitely very sad and triggering depending. Another documentary I watched was Halftime by Jennifer Lopez, which is kind of random. Yeah, I was interested in seeing what she had to say about the halftime. It focuses on the preparation and all of that stuff, but I thought like we were gonna get the tea. She does kind of say at some point, like, why is it that when we finally have a Hispanic performer for the Super Bowl, something so big, so crazy, such an intense, cool opportunity for someone in that business, do we have to divide it between two people? Is one not enough? Do you not think that's good enough? And I thought that was very interesting, but honestly, I thought the movie was just a lot of fluff. It didn't give me the feelings that I usually get when I really love a documentary. So, speaking of J-Lo, I actually also watched Hustlers, which she stars in. It's about these women during the crash in 2008, I think. They're strippers and they kind of find themselves doing bad things, hustling to survive. And I think it's actually based on, I want to say, a New York Times article. I read the article and I really enjoyed it. The movie was okay. The Ugly Truth, starring Katherine Heigl. If she's in a rom-com, I will watch it. This TV producer kind of being at an impasse with her show and getting forced to hire this radio host who gives advice to women about how to like find the right man or whatever. But it's like honestly kind of BS, and she knows that. But she kind of needs him for the numbers, and also she doesn't really have a choice. So yeah, he starts doing that, and then she's like, actually, I really have been having a hard time with men. Please teach me. Very sweet, nothing crazy. I ate it up. My Best Friend's Girl, the title says it all. Starring Kate Hudson. Both her and Katherine Heigl, if they're in a rom-com, I will watch it and I will most likely enjoy it. Something about them in rom-coms just works. Nothing crazy. I ate it up. So that was it for everything that I've watched in the past year. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some rocks. And I will see you maybe, hopefully, in the next one. Bye! Then I didn't read. I'm so used to talking about books. Anyways,